Welcome back to Movie Recaps. Today, I'm going to explain a superhero film about the origin of the X-Men and the rise of Magneto. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie begins with a mutant scientist named Hank, a man who has lived his entire life hiding his unusual appearance. Since childhood, his feet have looked completely different from those of normal humans. However, those same feet also gave him incredible speed and agility. Even with these powers, Hank never wanted to remain a mutant forever. More than anything, he wished to live as a normal human being. Driven by this dream, Hank creates a special serum designed to remove mutant abilities. The moment he injects the formula into his legs, his feet instantly transform into normal human feet. At first, the experiment appears successful. But within seconds, things go horribly wrong. His body suddenly begins mutating uncontrollably. His muscles expand, his strength increases rapidly, and thick blue fur covers his entire body. Instead of curing himself, Hank transforms into a terrifying blue beast far stronger than before. The story then shifts back to World War II. Inside a Nazi concentration camp, soldiers separate prisoners into different groups. Among them is a frightened young boy named Eric and his mother. When Eric is separated from her, panic overwhelms him. Desperate to reach his mother, he stretches out his hand toward her. Suddenly, something impossible happens. Metal objects throughout the camp begin shaking violently. Gates bend inward, chains snap apart, and iron barriers twist like paper. Eric unknowingly reveals his mutant powers for the very first time. This incredible display immediately attracts the attention of a dangerous Nazi officer named Sebastian Shaw. Shaw orders the boy to be brought directly to his office. Once Eric arrives, Shaw places a small coin on the table and tells him that if he can move it using his powers, he will allow him to reunite with his mother. Young Eric focuses with all his strength, but nothing happens. Growing impatient, Shaw cruelly shoots Eric's mother right in front of him. The tragedy instantly unleashes Eric's true power. Consumed by rage, Eric loses all control. Every metal object inside the room begins flying violently through the air. Furniture lifts off the ground, walls crack apart, and the entire room shakes uncontrollably. Terrified by the boy's power, Shaw escapes immediately. Meanwhile, another mutant child is introduced in 1944. His name is Charles Xavier. Unlike Eric, Charles possesses telepathic abilities that allow him to read minds and communicate mentally with others. One night, Charles discovers a strange blue-skinned girl hiding inside his house stealing food. Her name is Raven, later known as Mystique. Instead of turning her away, Charles welcomes her into his home. Over time, the two develop a close sibling-like relationship and grow up together. Years later, Eric becomes an adult completely consumed by revenge. His room is covered with photographs of the people involved in his mother's death. One by one, he tracks them down and kills them mercilessly. At the same time, a CIA agent named Moira MacTaggart begins investigating suspicious military activity involving powerful unknown individuals. While spying on a secret meeting, Moira encounters Sebastian Shaw once again. She discovers Shaw is also a mutant with an extraordinary ability to absorb all forms of energy, including explosions and blasts. Shaw has also gathered his own team of dangerous mutants. Emma Frost possesses telepathic powers and can transform her body into diamond form. Azazel can teleport instantly across great distances. Riptide controls destructive whirlwind attacks capable of tearing through almost anything. Shaw orders an American colonel to reposition missiles toward Turkey, knowing this action could spark a global conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union. The colonel refuses at first, but Shaw threatens his life. Azazel suddenly teleports the terrified colonel directly into a military war room, forcing him to obey Shaw's orders. The next day, the colonel attempts to blackmail Shaw for money and threatens to destroy the ship with a grenade if Shaw refuses. But Shaw simply grabs the grenade and detonates it in his own hand. Instead of dying, Shaw absorbs the explosion's energy into his body and redirects it back at the Colonel, instantly killing him. Moira witnesses these terrifying mutant abilities and realizes only Charles Xavier may be capable of stopping Shaw. She finds Charles and explains everything happening. Charles quickly understands the danger and explains that they must form their own team of mutants to stop Shaw before he triggers a catastrophic war. Eventually, the CIA approves the creation of a secret mutant division called Division X. At Division X, Charles meets Hank McCoy, the brilliant mutant scientist responsible for creating Cerebro, a machine capable of amplifying telepathic powers to detect mutants around the world. Using Cerebro, Charles locates mutants across the globe. Meanwhile, Eric finally confronts Shaw aboard his ship, intending to kill him. However, Shaw's mutants overpower Eric and throw him into the ocean. As Eric begins drowning, Charles arrives just in time to save him. Although Eric initially refuses to join Charles, he eventually agrees after realizing Shaw is too powerful to defeat alone. Together, Charles and Eric begin recruiting mutants from around the world. During their search, they briefly encounter Logan before successfully recruiting several young mutants including Angel Salvador, Banshee, Havoc, and Darwin. Most of these mutants are inexperienced and barely understand their powers. Charles begins training them while helping them gain confidence and control over their abilities. At the same time, Charles also trains Eric. One day, Charles challenges Eric to move a distant satellite dish using his magnetic powers. Eric struggles repeatedly and fails. Charles explains that Eric relies too heavily on anger. He tells him true strength comes from balancing both rage and peace together. Inspired by Charles's words, Eric tries again and finally succeeds. Meanwhile, Shaw secretly works alongside Soviet officials to push the world toward nuclear war. Moira eventually discovers part of Shaw's plan and alerts Division X. The team tracks down Emma Frost and captures her during a secret meeting. Through her, they learn Shaw's ultimate goal. Shaw wants humanity to destroy itself through nuclear war so mutants can rise and inherit the Earth as the dominant species. Once Shaw learns Emma has been captured, he launches an attack directly on Division X. During the assault, Shaw attempts to convince the younger mutants to join him. He claims mutants are superior beings who should never serve ordinary humans. Some of the young mutants begin doubting their loyalty. Eventually, Angel Salvador betrays the team and joins Shaw's side. During the attack, Darwin sacrifices himself and is killed. After witnessing this tragedy, Charles and Eric intensify the team's training. Each mutant receives specially designed uniforms and equipment to help strengthen their powers. Meanwhile, Mystique and Hank grow closer emotionally. Both secretly wish they could appear human instead of mutant. Hank eventually develops another serum using Mystique's DNA that he believes can permanently cure mutant appearances. Mystique refuses to use it, proudly accepting her mutant identity. However, Hank still injects himself with the serum. At first, he transforms into a normal human. But moments later, the mutation spirals out of control and he transforms into a massive blue beast-like creature with enhanced strength and agility. Elsewhere, Shaw continues manipulating world leaders while wearing a special helmet designed to block telepathic attacks. Soon, tensions between America and Russia escalate dangerously. President John F. Kennedy orders American naval forces toward Cuba while Soviet ships move into position as well. The world stands on the edge of nuclear war. Secretly, Shaw kills the Russian officers aboard the fleet because he fears they may abandon the mission before conflict begins. At that moment, Charles and his mutant team arrive. Using a captured Soviet submarine, they create confusion among both military fleets and prevent the first attack from happening. But the final battle is only beginning. Eric still burns with hatred toward Shaw and refuses to let him survive. Using his magnetic abilities, Eric lifts Shaw's submarine entirely out of the ocean and crashes it onto land. An enormous battle erupts between both mutant teams. Charles desperately tries convincing Eric not to kill Shaw, believing he should face justice through the law instead. But Eric ignores him completely. He removes Shaw's telepathic blocking helmet and places it on himself, cutting Charles off mentally. Then, using the same coin from his childhood, Eric slowly kills Shaw in front of everyone. Both the American and Soviet militaries witness the terrifying power of mutants during the battle. Fear immediately spreads among the humans. Believing mutants are now a threat to all humanity, both governments launch missiles toward the mutants. Furious, Eric stops every missile in midair using his magnetic powers and turns them back toward the military fleets. Moira, terrified by what Eric is becoming, attempts to shoot him. Eric deflects the bullets away from himself. But during the chaos, one bullet accidentally strikes Charles directly in the spine. Charles collapses critically injured. Eric immediately removes the bullet from Charles's back and realizes his closest friend has suffered because of his actions. At that moment, the friendship between Charles and Eric finally breaks apart forever. Eric believes mutants must dominate humanity before humans destroy them first. Charles believes mutants and humans can coexist peacefully together. Because of these opposite beliefs, the two friends choose completely different paths. Charles eventually transforms his mansion into Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, a place where mutants can safely learn to control their powers. Meanwhile, Eric fully embraces his identity as Magneto. At the end of the movie, Charles erases Moira's memories about mutants to protect mutant kind from human governments. Finally, Magneto frees Emma Frost from prison and begins forming his own mutant brotherhood, setting the stage for future conflicts between humans and mutants. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more movie recaps like this.